Morning live. There's a few things that we are going to have to talk about in this morning's session. There's a couple of hindrances in the road here, so to say, as we know with XRP, with where the price is at, what the ramifications are if we do end up coming and can't hold $1.56, and ultimately if we lose $1.50. We had historical metrics hit, which you can look at them one of two ways, and we'll go over that in just a second. I want to wait until more people get in here, allow people to get situated. What we're going to go over, though, today is we're going to go over those metrics. We'll go over the XRP price. I want to look at it in the two different settings, and if you watched the 4-minute video yesterday, I kind of touched on it a little bit. But I want to go into how the differences in the drop that we could have if we did fall out between the descending triangle and the bearish pennant. I want to show the differences. I want to show the three unique levels, two that belong to the pennant, one that belongs to the descending triangle, and what the historical levels would be as far as a drop out of what is a perceived descending triangle. It depends on which chart, but I'll pull it up, and why that would be a historically accurate move if this happened, and that could be the move that would help now further validate us out to that $5 to $7 range, because it would back test an area that took us over 7 years to get through, or almost 7 years, and then it would actually almost 8 if you look at it from the longer sense. But anyhow, I digress. It would allow us that not only the additional buyers, but it would clear out a lot of leverage, and it would clear out a lot of, let's just say, underneath liquidation that we could grab to now give ourselves, in a lack of a better word, rocket fuel to at least allow this ship to start picking up a little bit instead of what we know has been happening. We hit the Great Divide here, and it's been an interesting thing. So there's been some news. There's also been some news we can talk about with Ripple and XRP. There's an update coming out on the XRP ledger that we need to talk about. We need to make sure everybody knows about the XDC expansion that's happening, and I'm not talking about utility. I'm talking about the token supply that's going to be released here. I believe it's the 14th, but it's coming up very quickly, so we'll talk about that. And then whatever else we can get into, we'll try to look at the Bitcoin chart. We'll look at it a little bit at least. If we have time, I'd like to go into the Bitcoin dominance and look at USDT. We have gold, silver, and even some of the miners, platinum, that are eating up a lot of liquidity right now. Gold's had between gold and silver in the last 24 hours, there's been $6 trillion put back into it. The miners are going back up. I mean, they're nowhere near where they dropped, but they're going back up. Well, I mean, they're not too far off. They're like some 15% on, some 20%. But anyhow, the point is on the mine, because we're not going to have a lot of time to talk about this. We need to, it's a great comeback, but I've talked about the $93 level many times if we're going to create a right shoulder. So, the buying volume is low. You can see it in the 2-hourly. It's lower than it was on the push-ups. It's honestly very recognizable right now. And to me, I mean, everybody's going nuts about this right now. That doesn't look like a V-shaped recovery to me. I mean, I hold gold and silver. I would love for it to be a V-shaped recovery. That don't look like a V-shaped recovery to me. I could be wrong. That looks like exhaustion. And I would love to hear everybody's analysis of this. Even gold. Gold, I mean, gold looks a little bit like maybe a little decent. This is too far down. This should have been right here on this shoulder. I don't know why it was down here. What level was this? I don't know. But we're talking about shoulders or double tops. So a shoulder would get you right about 5,100. Interesting. Anyhow, so I want to know though, do you see these setting up as head and shoulders, or do you see these being retaken? Because a lot of, to me, just I don't know, man. That volume looks like it cut off here all of a sudden. Even on platinum, you can see how it's a very decreased volume from when we were getting the push in. Something don't seem right here to me. So I wanted to at least mention this because we're not gonna have a lot of time with this. But as everybody gets in, gold's not as bad. Gold's not as bad, but you can. It's not as bad. Gold's not as bad. I don't think. I definitely, over the last few hours though, on this push up, I've definitely noticed it on silver after this consolidation here, and for the most part. And this last push up, you can clearly see that for whatever reason, the volume isn't coming. It's like half after that last consolidation. And now that it's getting closer to 93, it almost makes me a little bit like, what's going to happen here now? Like when I look at the miners, they're setting up like their show. I mean, look at this. Fortuna coming out of a rising wedge and back tossing it right now. Something don't seem right here, although the 4-hourly is massively oversold. So maybe it can have a strong reversal, but it don't seem right though. Something don't seem, it seems a little off here. But I digress. Good morning. 8:49 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Wednesday, February 4th, 2026. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. I'm sure the title this morning threw people off. You know, threw people off. They want to see something fancy. They want somebody to knock their socks off. J-Rod, you are definitely wrong. Your long-term TA has always been wrong, man. Oof. Is that how it's going to go this morning? That's an interesting take on it. It really is. That's a very interesting take on it, my friend. Anyhow, good morning, bounce back. Thanks for being in Towns on 3+ months with the XRP Meteor. XRP John Hall as well, and as long with Totally Awesome. I appreciate you guys 3+ months. Bounce back said, good morning, everyone. Get ready for class at 12 Eastern Time. Best classroom and teacher ever, and you don't even have to wear pants while in class. Oh, that's great to hear. I appreciate that. Good morning, Mick. Thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. Dan Marginal, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 6 months with the XRP Predictor. Jay Firmix, good morning, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over your first month with the emoji badge and me being abducted by aliens. And that is my face superimposed on that emoji badge. I greatly appreciate that. I'm gonna share this as well in the about the live because it didn't send to my phone or to Julie's tablet. So I just want to make sure that I give the opportunity, if anybody does want to watch this, to at least let them see it. There we go. Easy peasy. Let's see. Let me just finish saying hi to everybody. Mo, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 2 years with the XP589 Moon badge. Creamy Goodness, good morning, says damn bro. Ripple to dump. Yeah. So, Totally Awesome. Appreciate you, buddy. Mark Casson, welcome in, along with Crazy Pole and Oliver Marks. Thank you all three of you for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. Nilo, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army 3+ months with the XP Meteor, along with Sola Jeffy. Let's see. Dan Marginal, welcome in. Thanks for being in Tom's Army 6+ months with the XP Predictor. Nelio, 3+ months. And the Army says this could be bear trap and blow off top for silver. That's interesting, because if it was a bear trap, maybe, are you suggesting we would go up and retest the highs? Or are you suggesting it was a bear trap and then ultimately it'll end up a bull trap because it looks like it's rising and it'll end up falling? And maybe we come, I see this as the retest for sure. For sure I do. Let's see. Silver Days in Victoria. Or Victor, I mean, thanks for being in Tom's Army for your second month with the Dusty's Idaho's Crypto News. Mrs. Stott, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army 3+ months with the XP Meteor. And Dirty Train, thanks for being in Tom's Army 6+ months with the XP Predictor. So with XRP, what we're setting up here and what we've set up here, we have a bearish pennant. And right now it's breaking to the outside. $1.41, we have to kind of move it up just a tiny bit. It's still going to be in the same area though. Still that $1.41 and some change, just a higher $1.41. But this bearish pennant, yeah, well, now I guess we could say $1.42. $1.42.6 from where it ended up breaking down right now. But that's a bearish pennant. You've got the setup of the bearish consolidation. Call it bear flag. But it created a pennant there, and typically that breaks down. That's the complete opposite of a bull pennant. That goes with your, the flow of the chart, and that ends up being your friend. Right now, this is not our friend. We've been in a bear market since January of last year, confirmed in about April, and it's just been a downward spiral. We have no volume of any content that will help us push up. We have no major rush from retail. In fact, I think retail is starting to lose trust in crypto. I've said it 10,000 times, and I'll say it 100,000 times more. For anybody who thinks the Clarity Act is good for crypto, you've been brainwashed. For anybody who thinks this market is supposed to be regulated, you don't know anything. This market was created to be unregulated, divided from the traditional finance, and outside the reach of a controlled government. Now all of my constituents, my fellow retail traders, are begging the government to do what? Pull institutions out of it, send them into the ETFs, to the stock market, into companies like BitMine and MicroStrategy, and just like the XRP, anything you want, you can get in the stock market. So why would you make this a unregulated market and then turn it regulated? That's how you get rid of liquidity. So if you want to stop that from happening, stop begging them to hang us by our own noose. Like, we're walking up to them, we're handing them the rope, and we're even getting up there for them, and we're just saying, here, kick the bucket out from underneath me. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, do you want the bucket kicked out from underneath you? So if that's the case, and that's what I'm planning now, because I can see my peers, now the strategy changes. We already made our move. We made our money. Last year when we had to, we sold out, and we called the bear market starting before anybody even acknowledged that we were done with the bull market already back in January. So we are way out in front of this. And for that fact, we have lots of liquidity to spend. Been many moves that we were able to get in and out. Not interested in that right now. What I'm interested in for is finding this next bottom, the next area that actually makes sense, so that now we might have to approach this market different. Instead of looking at it from going from $2 to $10, our next big shot might be when XRP goes down to 82 cents or 86 cents, if it holds that area, and then it bounces back up to $3 or $4, or maybe that's our momentum to get us to that 5 or 6. But that's what we need to look at. And then relegation or in relatability, when we look at things like VeChain, a few weeks ago, people, why won't you buy it at 1.2? Well, now it's down 40%. I'm sure the picture's being built. Now, guess what? If it goes down 10% from here, that's a lot different if you bought it at 1.5, 2, or 3. I mean, this is where you're talking about. If this continues, if this layer drops, you're going to get some kind of a 30 to 40 to possibly 15% discount from where it's at even right now. So the one thing I've implored this audience to do, I've begged this audience to do, is not become exit liquidity. Don't buy a dip that's not really the dip, and it's just a breakdown of a big bull market. And don't buy that green candle. Don't buy the green wave. Wait until you start hearing the talk. This is what you want to hear. I want to buy the dip, but I have no money left. This can't possibly go down any farther from here. You want to start hearing that talk. You want to hear people say, I'm buying the dip. I'm buying the dip. And then you want it to start switching. If we go down another 30% is when you'll start hearing it. Now you're going to start hearing, I don't have money to buy the dip. Or the people that were telling you all over social media to buy, the guy at the gas station, the garbage man, the local shoe shiner, the ones who are telling you, your parents, anybody who's now saying to buy, that'll all die down. And they're going to tell you you're a fool. When you start getting called a fool for buying something, and everybody doesn't have the money to buy it because they've already bought it, and now they're sitting from the top, that's the spot you want to be. We're not there yet. It's not even a comfortable spot right now. If you're you want to make sure that if you were going to buy in this area, that this does not break down. Because a breakdown here sends you to $1.42. The actual flag pull of the bearish pennant which is the bear flag, would now be about 137, because it came up just a little bit from where we broke down. But I'm going to keep it right around here. Oh, and the other news I noted, my son's home from school, and we're not sure. So he woke up and he was fine. He was eating a snack by mouth, and he choked on it a little bit, and it caused him to throw up. And as some of you know, he's got a G tube and he's got aversion and things like that happen to him with eating sometimes. So he doesn't have any fever. He's not showing signs of being sick. So we had to keep him home today because he threw up, and there's a rule at his school. And we just want to make sure it wasn't something more, but he choked a little bit. Like I ran in there because he was choking a little bit, and he threw it up. So I'm assuming that was his gag reflex, but it's scary with him. So he's home. He's sleeping right now. So we'll see how he does at his feeding. I still plan on doing my class at noon, so anybody who's in there, I'll see you there. But anyhow, continuing. So if this breaks down, these are what we're going to have to look at in the short term. Now, that's just the bearish pennant. If that's one thing. I'm not afraid of that for anybody. That's not the thing that you should be fearing. This is one thing after this broke down. That's not a good sign. This is one thing that we haven't talked really about, but this isn't a good sign that broke down and actually started to get rejected again on the back test. But I have a bigger problem here, as you know. This is something we created, and you have to go through chart after chart and try to find anomalies. But on that October 10th flush, this chart happened to go down here and create what looks like a flat bottom. Now, at the time, it doesn't matter. But now when you start creating this downtrending resistance, which creates the lower highs and flat lows, that's better known as a descending triangle. That's a very bearish reversal. If that's the case, the technical target's 86.8 cents. And then you start looking and I go, well, let's see. What sense does that make to drop down there? Oh, wait a minute. The pattern we talked about for years, which allowed us that 34-cent buy-in because we waited for it to retap the line after a rejection here that confirms it. So 2017 to 2024, we never back tested it. We broke out. So resistance broke out. We don't know if it's support. We never back tested it. We just had a volatile breakout, which is pent up aggression, in my opinion, from all these years of consolidation. So now we have to see if we hold 86. And that's why it makes perfect sense if this breaks down. There's no volume. The government keeps pushing crypto like it's the best thing since sliced bread, and now we're down 70%, right? That was another sell signal. The government told you you're going to get rich by investing in crypto. I couldn't sell quick enough when they said that, if you remember, in January. Once Trump started pushing that, I said, we're done. It was all of it. And he started pushing that so retail could be what? Exit liquidity. And I couldn't care about politics, so save it. Politics is a distraction for the weak-minded. Just like the race debate, just like a lot of things. That's for the weak-minded. If you want to be a big fish and you want to not be part of the let's just call it the rat race, you can't be the weak-minded. Period. Somebody started in here with the weak mindset and tried to get me upset. Well, that was circa 2022 to 24. I don't care about that anymore. I don't even acknowledge it. But that's part of what I'm talking about. That's part of being the weak-minded. You either want to get ahead or you don't. My history proves itself. It doesn't matter. Anybody can talk shit in here. I don't care about that. Facts over FUD. That's no different than the FUD you deal with XRP. The same people that want to tell you now if we want to adjust things, move it into a direction that makes sense, that's what happens with all of these pushers and all of these FUDsters that make you think everything's going to go up an exponential amount, and then they don't even let you get the feeling of when you're up 400% that you've done something right. They're telling you, oh, this is going up 10,000%. You're a fool if you sell. While they're all smiling, putting money in their pockets because they've been paid to show you like that. The sad truth is 75% of the XRP influencers are paid by Ripple. I know it was hard for me to stomach too when I first figured it out. I used to show it years ago, but I stopped showing it. And that's by design. They need to fund the project, but eventually the project is going to go where it needs to go. Retail is just going to be priced out in many ways. Think about all of retail right now that holds XRP at $3, $3.50, 275, 225, $1.80. And the sad truth is a lot of you watching me right now are doing that. Even though I've been here every day and you've been in here every day, because it's the psychological struggle. It's so hard. But getting past that, so we start looking at this and we go, okay, does this make sense? This makes sense. So then we have this chart. Well, if we break down to the 86 to 92, and it's like, well, why would we break down here? Like, what sense would it make to come all the way back to 38 cents if everything broke down? And then I started to think about it, and I go, you know what? What if we came all the way down, and in time, 38, and then it starts breaking, and then we go, well, technically, this all-time consolidation, I hate to be this guy, the all-time consolidation, we broke out, and then we never came back. We just broke up, consolidated for almost a decade, and broke out. Well, what if now it comes back out for vengeance, support, breakout on the third, never came back to validate this uptrend unless it goes farther? But I don't think that's what it's aiming for yet. But the ironic and irony here is, you see this number where I circled it? It's an important number of why I circled this area. What's a key thing that happened in 2020 on the price charts? Oh, that's right, the lawsuit. XRP came down to about 10 cents. Well, when it bounced out of this area, it never back tested it. It just came out unabated in 21. So now all of a sudden my conspiracy brain goes on and I go, you know what? If it breaks down, we're going to retest the lawsuit numbers. But that's only an exponential breakdown, so we don't even look at that. That's just why it's circled. I wanted to give you an explanation. But if we break down here, that would backtest that entire consolidation and then move out. 10% of the audience left when I'm showing this chart. Can you believe that? That proves the point in itself. 10%. 10% are getting a golden ticket right here where they don't even have to know technical analysis and they just walked out the door. You couldn't make that up if I tried. Couldn't make it up if I tried. XDC down 3.6%. 3.6% on the day. Showing you all the bearishness we've seen yesterday with the topping reversal. We tried to lay it out very clear. Even somebody in the audience was very bright. There's a lot of people. I know they are, Crypto Cooter. No, literally. Look how many people leave when I talk about the charts in a bearish way. It's incredible. It's almost a sign of higher. It's more than just that though. It actually shows and it proves just the psychological mindset we talk about every day. It really does. Think about that. Like, to leave when you're seeing this, like, we've not. Oh man, it's so weird. It's so weird. It's not weird, but every time I see it, I'm always like, well, when it's bullish, nobody leaves. But when it's bearish and we're talking about where the opportunity's at, everybody wants to leave. And then they're going to come back, these same people, after it breaks bullish and say, should I buy? Or, I didn't buy it when it was at the bottom, but should I buy now? Or, I'm down 40%, what do I do? That's the question I get from most people. I'm down 40, 50, 60%, what do I do? Well, I'd rather you be here before you're down 40, 50, 60%. Learn before you make an entry. Solo Jeffy, you're feeling trapped. Oh, well. What does that mean? Did I miss a comment from you? Good morning, Solo Jeffy, and thanks for being in town for 3+ months with the XP Meteor. I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss something. Happy Fox, welcome in. Hoodie Mike, good morning. Will we ever see 2020, 2021 highs years from now? As far as what? Other tokens? Because XRP already seen the 2018 highs this year, or last year. Poppy Lou, thank you so much. And Townsend 6+ months with the XP Predictor, along with William Hayes. Oh, I do too, Carl. I learn a lot more when it's bearish as well. And thank you for being in Townsend for over 1 year at the I Told You So badge. I don't know if we're back testing the 10 cents. It's just, that's just areas, but we got a lot to go through there before we can even get to that spot. And we also have to break this down before we can ever get there because, the crypto market's a funny business. Clearly, we're below this. We need to get above $1.58.5. So, we're painfully below this, but the crypto market's a funny business. However, with all that buying back yesterday, that just killed us. We gave ourselves so much room to drop now by coming back up and trying to fake people out again. So I talked yesterday and I said, please, if you're going to buy XRP, wait for it to break to the top side and validate that it's not going to break down. Like, it's becoming a bit of a problem. And I know you can switch this pattern and pull it out now, but I'm going to implore you not to do that. That wick is just that. It's a throw off. So I would encourage you not to switch this. I would encourage you to let this play out because what's going to end up happening is if somebody switches this and you see it over and over again. So it started something else. And it's going to be funny how this plays out. But I mean, now they're going to go from here. They're going to extend this across. If they're doing hey, I got to advance the technicals. They're going to pull it up here. They're going to come through. You might not like what you see, though, if you do that. What is that? What did that evolve into, just out of curiosity? I would love to know if you go that direction and you wanted to pull something like that. Because somebody's going to. Someone's going to say that. Which is good because this is how you validate if you're going to break down. Remember what I talked about at $1.50, whatever it was, $1.52 now. But what could that have? Exactly, Mrs. Stada. Descending triangle, crypto cruder, correct. And thanks for being a very trusted mod in my community and in times under 3+ months, or over 1 year at the I Told You So badge. Hey man, welcome in and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year at the I Told You So badge. Tom, I actually have a sleeper downtrend connecting the high from 2018 high, 2021 high, and the 2024 breakdown around 59 cents. Puts the backtest all the way down to the $1. Oh, absolutely. I know exactly what you're talking about. You, my friend, that is... Who said that? Hey man. You gave me a lot of hope here along with a few others like Mrs. Stott and Crypto Cooter and a couple others as well. Happy Fox with that great advice about learning more in the bear markets, which is absolutely beautiful. Bold, thank you. I was just about to read somebody else's comment and they just deleted it. Good morning to you, Bold, as well. I appreciate you. You're welcome for the TA. I like doing this, so it's not hard for me. John Boogerthorpe says, Tom, if XRP goes to the depths, what about XDC? That is a great question. And we've talked about that, ironically, about XDC in the past. So, if it goes to the depths, like the depths of the depths, it's either one of two things. XDC comes all the way back down to 2.2 cents, which a couple months ago seemed laughable when I would talk about it. Now it doesn't seem so laughable. The problem for me is if that happens and we actually reset this market, which it looks like we possibly are. I mean, look at that topping reverse. That looks horrible. That looks like an extended head and shoulders. It's so blatantly obvious that it was shoulder, head, shoulder. Just because it came out weird doesn't mean that it's still not a top. And it never went above. So now we had to restart. And when you support by, or sell resistance by support. If you would have just sold you right here, bought support, you wouldn't even have known yet. But then you come down and hit the uptrend again. You buy support, sell resistance, buy support, sell resistance until the pattern breaks out or breaks down. You don't fight the pattern. That's why even to do stuff like this when it's in a pattern, it's all hogwash. Because you're putting a smaller pattern within a bigger pattern. The micro's always, or the macro's always going to play out. The micro might look good at times, but the micro's just that. That's why if you're trading, you can't trade the micro if you're going to buy a long-term bag. A lot of people make the biggest mistake. They look at a daily, a weekly, to buy a 10-year bag, but they never look at the 6-month chart, the monthly, anything. They look at the 4 hourly and say, oh, here's where I'm going to buy my bag. Based on what? A 5-month interpretation of what you're saying, or a 2-year? I need to see 15 years worth if I'm going to buy something like that. I want to see the whole chart. I want to see what's going on. Everybody else should want it too. You know, the blatant point here is this chart looks like hell. And we're about to invalidate the entire scale of this chart if this goes down much farther. Like we got a left shoulder, and where there's another charts with XDC, but you'll see it's not really, here's the thing, it's not really invalidating the whole chart. Because the bottom line is that chart's incomplete. Call it for what it is, because it's not the all-time chart. So I got to be careful. You look at an all-time chart, like my other one that I have of it with Bitfinex, which I don't know why it's not on here, but when they did the update, look how different it looks. Looks way different. Way different. And this was just a drawing we had a while ago when it was up here. I said it could come down here and maybe we'll get lucky and hit an inverse head. And that's right at 2.2. Yeah, that 2.2 cents is how I drew it out. But we don't know if that's going to happen. That's just if for whatever reason it decided to hold there. That was just a, you know, philosophy that could have come. Because it didn't seem like we were breaking out there. So I tried to build something that could allow us out. But if that doesn't do something like that, it's going to be a nightmare. So I've been looking at that 2.2 cent area for a long time. But this chart tells you a lot because you can see, man, oh man, this is actually pretty fucking scary when you look at it like this because we have a big gap at 1 cent. I'm just gonna call it for what it is. I gotta delete a lot of this. We got a gap at 1 cent. We have the other chart for XDC for all of the intermediate noise. But John, we have a gap at 1 cent. I can almost guarantee that this is a legit. I'm not going to go into the deeper depths of the details because it would take too much time. If you guys are interested in learning things that you might not know, or if you're confused by all of this, I encourage you to join the classes. They just started on Monday. There's a live database going back 1 class now. You can click on the live class section and it'll show you what it says. You just can't click in it. It's like clickbait. You can see it but can't watch it. But it's a more in-depth, not just with the market, though. We're not even into markets yet. It starts with a lot of things before money, or before trading. Kind of building your own database. But anyhow, that's in the video description below and our pinned comments if you would like to find out more about that. So, John, I'm so glad you asked about XDC. Look at this. If I'm looking at this, I'm looking at something like this. We're going to do it ourselves. Let's see which one I want to use. They switched how it is after their update, so now I gotta figure out where everything's at again. I want to make, let's see, emoji icon. No, not an icon. Well, maybe. No, not an icon. No, don't want an icon. Go back. It's rough. I know a lot of you know. But when you start doing something and then they switch everything from where it's at and your mind is used to it being in a spot, it's a real big. It's like when they switch the names on YouTube. I'm so used to seeing everybody a certain name and then they switch it. Same thing. Fixed range. I wonder if I could use something like that. Okay, so when we broke up, we had a top wick here, came around, swung out, used, I'll say this was good enough to use as a support structure, so let's move this up real quick. So we had the wick top from here, back test here, structure held, went back around, never actually touched back here, so that's one point of contention. Otherwise, you come up here, we stretch this across, and you guys are going to be confused as all shit right now, and I understand it. Believe me, I do. That's a 70. No, there's no way. Is that really? Holy. Okay, this could get nasty. Whoa, that could get nasty. No, see, it's not 79. At least it's not that bad. Oh, only 76. Okay, so let me describe this real quick. What I'm setting up here is my own gap area. So, in my opinion, right here, 1.1 cent is where this, let's just call it this gap, a fair value gap, without going deeper into this to get the exact number, starts here. Now, if you want to get technical, and you know how I am about being technical, technically broke out, back around, back up. We have a wick to the drop, to the up. Never technically came all the way back down to 0026. It looks like it was close to 003. But let's look at the obvious differential here. Looking close and being in the spot to tap it is two completely different things. That is actually a 25% miss. That's a 25% miss. Oh, shoot, that is on logarithmic. I didn't realize it switched it. Well, I'm glad you said that. No, I don't want it to be in logarithmic. I switched it. I'm glad you said that. I did not realize it switched it on me. Ha! Isn't that funny? So here, I put it back. Still the same. It's the same thing. I didn't want it to be on logarithmic. I keep forgetting that they switch it like that. That's kind of shady. I love that TFG. Top fucking gap. So, let me just explain this again. So, I do like the logarithmic because it shuts off like the extreme lows and highs from outside the trading set. Well, anyhow, that's for another day. But look. So we had this resistance wick. Came around, back out, back test. Nope. 25% away from the actual back test. That's not close enough. Now we also came up here, and if we don't fall back to the bottom of this gap, you technically have the top of the gap a little bit higher. That's a wild disparity, though. That is wild. So you're talking about a gap, to me, a fair value gap that sits around 1.1 cents on XDC. However, there is a gap 76.4% farther down that, in my opinion, was never filled. And that's the all-time breakout move. The all-time breakout move from the initial consolidation of the pattern of this chart, it never hit. So are we going to come all the way back there? So what do you think about that interpretation? So it is the... I'm just curious. I'm trying to evolve what I do, so... Let's see. How did he say this? Oh, yeah. Well, I don't want to confuse people. I say fair value gap. Can I make this bigger? What do you think? Make sense? Focusing on levels does you no good when we are in unknown territories. This market is unknown. No, it's not. This market's been here many times. It's not an unknown. This is not unknown territory. Everybody always... Why does everybody always want to take the easy way out when I'm trying to give knowledge? Oh, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Clearly knowing that information couldn't technically help you. I mean, come on, stop with that bullshit. I'm sorry, that's a family-friendly show. Stop with the closed-mindedness. How about you open your mind and expand and say, you know what? I never thought about it like this. I'm glad somebody for free is willing to give me his time and do this. How about that? You know, it's all about perception is reality, my friend. If it's not going to help you, it's not going to help you because you've closed your mind off to it. Don't you find it funny that the technicals help us find these levels before they get there? I want to know what I'm doing. I want to know the potential. It's on illusion says the 1.272 fib base trend extension after the corrective 3-wave move up in this past July is at 140. It's a great level. That's a great level because if this breaks down, that $1.40 is going to come into play. It really is. I know it says $1.41 or 42 on that technical drop, but that $1.40 is definitely a big line in the sand that we do not want to break. Because if you do break that, then all of a sudden you have to go back to where the cup and handle was formed after we had the break out of the 2017 to 2024 November push, where it finally broke out. Then we created what ended up being a cup and handle that ended up pushing us out past $2. But that formed at the $1.34 level, ironically. And that's where the targeted drop is on the actual, not the bear pennant part of it, but the actual flagpole brings us down right to that $1.34, which I find intriguing as hell. William Hayes says, Tom, I want to know what I'm doing too. That's why I joined your class. I appreciate that. And were you a little blown away in the first class with where it started? I think everybody just expects to get into the charts and here's what you do and start trading and I'm going to let you off and go. Nope. We might not see the inside of a chart for months if it takes us that long. Trading is not just a chart. It's so much more. The trading is the ultimate caveat. It's like the cherry on top. It's the ultimate coup de grace, so to say. Oh, no, that's what I mean, Happy Fox. We're not in no man's land. They're doing the Clarity Act. It's going to shit. Study up on what it means to be in a regulated market when it's supposed to be an unregulated market. We know exactly where we're going. You just have to acknowledge it. That's all. You just have to admit that the Clarity Act is not good when you're in an unregulated market. I'm not in this market for regulation. I came in this market to go around the overreach of the government. Now, unfortunately, it's even worse than the stock market now. We know exactly where it's going if we acknowledge it. We're going down to the depths of despair, which some would say we already have. Look at some of the... V-Chain's flipped to zero. Told you guys, XRP was going to be the deceiver this cycle because it's going to make everything look better than it is. And we're going to think everything's going to follow, and then XRP just starts fading away as time goes. But still at $1.56, we can say, oh man, it's doing very well compared to the rest. Haven't we said that a billion times? It's doing very well. I'm a but why person. I need to know why it is, what it is, so the classes are wonderful. Absolutely, Mrs. Stott. I'm the same way. So I actually, it took me about 6 weeks to figure out the proper way because I took a lot of time to think about this. But I started to ask myself, like, what do I need to do like, if I didn't know anything, what do I need to do? And it's like, okay, well, I learned this stuff all backwards. If I would have learned more about the way the economy and money and finances and like the Fed and just how interest rates and printing money and the easing and tightening, and then you go into the bonds and you see how the forex markets and the metals markets and then the stock market and crypto, and you see the relation, but then you see there's so much more that goes into it. And then you realize we were taught to say the charts don't matter. We were taught that, literally. They're teaching us that. You know why? Because there's only one thing in the world that predicts the news. You're looking at it. No, not me. The charts. I'm serious. I'm dead serious. If you've ever wondered about world events, just look at a chart. Look at the right chart. They tell you exactly what's coming before it comes. Right now, it's screaming at us with what gold and silver is doing, that some big event's coming that hasn't happened. There's three scenarios that can be in, only three. One, where finally the US dollar's dying, and the world's finally realized that they're no longer going to be slaves to us, and we're not going to be the lenders and buyers of last resort when it comes to the world reserve currency. We've enjoyed a nice luxury that we shouldn't have, and most Americans don't even realize what it is. We're not as wealthy as we think we are. We're only this wealthy because the dollar has any kind of value, because the rest of the world has to use it to buy oil and goods when they do the conversion. Well, guess what? They're loading up, so they don't have to do that anymore. So either that's what's happening, and that's why gold and silver did what it did. Two, we're about to have some kind of global war that we haven't seen in several decades, if not, going on 50, 60 years now. Or three, there's going to be one big-ass psyop, which can either be another pandemic-style thing where we're locked away, or we get something coming from above. And that's out of their playbook. So something big is in the works, and it's already shown. Gold and silver in history, every time it does this, and I showed a chart yesterday, I don't know if I still have it, but every time in history it does this, where's this chart? Oh yeah, it's a pain in the ass to show these pictures on here, believe it or not, because I have to resize it a billion freaking times on my own. I might have to get it back. Shoot. I know I had it up here yesterday. I don't know where it's at. Darn it. Oh, man. And I have so much stuff I can't remember. Let's see. No, I don't have it on here. But it showed in 4 times. Let me look here and see if I have it on here, because I think I have it on my phone. But it's actually very important, because it shows the times in history when gold makes this run, and then what ended up happening, like what ended up being predicted by it. And it's pretty staggering when you actually see it, because gold, this is only like the 3rd time this has ever happened, or 4th time. In the previous 3, we had some kind of event that ended up happening after it. So that's why you got to start looking at the charts and be like, okay, what is this telling us? It's got to be telling us something. This isn't happening for no reason. So let's see. I sent this. I believe I sent it. Let's see. I don't know. I know I showed it on here. I'm not sure what happened to it. Yeah, I don't see it. Darn. That's too bad. That's too bad. No. Some of you might have seen it yesterday, though. I'll have to go back and try to find it. Oh, that's a shame. Oh, I found it. Yes. I knew I had it. Here, I got to share it back to myself. I'll share it to my email. Okay. I think they had sent it to me, unless I screwed it up. Let me check my email. Yes. Okay. So, when we talk about how the charts can help you predict history, so with gold, 2007 to 2009, we had this epic breakout in gold back then. Then all of us, here, let me screenshot this so that I can use my writing tool. Okay. So, let's see. Okay, perfect. I like to have it to where it deletes. So, right here, see this 2017 or 2007 to 2009 housing market collapse had a run up, historic run. We just had this vertical that predicted the housing market collapse. Went around, vertical, predicted COVID. Went around, extremely vertical. Some kind of big event has to be going on. Now, is that the end of the U.S.? Whoops, the U.S. dollar, although it deletes. Or is there something bigger? John, you said, any way you have a sense of probability on big drop versus huge drop, or do we need to wait to know better? Gut says it's going to go back and retest those sub $1 levels, but, honestly, until we get the proper breakdowns, these can all be technical ploys. I hear a lot of people talking about bear flag setting up on silver or gold. I don't disagree with that. That's something that I've been talking about with silver and gold. That's why I talked about $93 a couple days ago. Because if $93 gets rejected, that would be the optics that we might be putting in a right shoulder. Now, if it comes back up here and retakes this, there could always be a double top, or it just breaks back through. But it doesn't look great right now. And that volume right now, I would have liked to have seen a big surge in volume. This volume is getting worse than how it was on this last consolidation. So I don't know what's going on, but certainly feels like we're coming up to a wall here. As far as XRP goes, I have no faith right now in crypto. I was on the air yesterday again, and I told everybody, because of how much it dropped, I had added capital now from when we saw, because I've been liquid. But instead of keeping that extra liquidity in there, I'm going to start paying myself as it keeps going down so that I'm not tempted to do something stupid. So I literally liquidated $5,000 out of my Kraken account yesterday. So I've got like 31,000 conservatively. So, and I did it on the air yesterday because I said the way the volatility is, I don't trust crypto right now, especially with the Clarity Act. I don't trust what's going to happen when they do it, and it's bothersome. I love crypto, but what they're doing with regulation is they're stealing a market from us. They're stealing a market, and my constituents, even my retail friends here, don't understand that. We're crying for this. We're crying for them to do it. Guys, don't you understand? You're begging them to hang us. I don't want to be hung. I don't want to be hung by my own rope. At least I'm going to get hung. I'm not bringing the freaking accessories. Does that make sense? Like, if I say it like that, does that make more sense? Like, is it so wrong that I don't want to be hung by my own rope? Or I want to be hung, if I'm going to be hung, at least let me do it myself. Not that I would ever do that. I'm just saying. It's a metaphor. Metaphorically speaking. And then Ethereum. I shared the news today. Tom Lee with Bitmine. He buys 20,000 Ethereum. The guy's down 6, but that's the untold truth. Yeah, he's the world's largest holder of Bitcoin. Before the drop today, he was down $6 billion on his investment. $6 billion. If these aren't psyops, I don't know what is. They're literally here. I think I shared it on Facebook actually. Which fortunately, I'm starting to find my baseline on Facebook after that million posts. Oh, I'm almost up to 13,000 now. Excellent. But I had a million posts. I had a million views. So it made my artificial views go up higher. But now it's settling back in because I didn't know my baseline. Now I do. Well, actually, it's like went to 120,000. It should be somewhere around here because my baseline was here. Then I had a million views on a video. So I made it out of whack. But now it looks like we might have found a baseline somewhere above here now, so hopefully it stays somewhere in this track, because today we're already off to a good start, follower-wise and views. But definitely something's going on there, so we'll see if that continues. But the Ethereum, well, that was the 6 trillion flow back in the gold and silver, but Ethereum, we had Bitmine buys, and I share a lot of information on here. I usually talk more about XRP and XDC and stuff like that, but I do share other stuff. But I put the Ethereum whale alert. Bitmine buys 20,000 plus. Ethereum now controlling 3.5% of the supply. So he loaded up. And then I just put down, hey, this is what people say. This is what they do. But I have another post coming out later about how much he's down. But he's down $6 billion. I didn't want to throw everybody off and leave my stuff. But $6 billion. So notice the other thing that's been happening in the market. Quick flushes, repush ups, and then drops again. It's dropping and liquefying both areas at once, and it's doing it again. So guess what? We had a drop out. Is it going to come right back up and retest $1.58 right away? Is this just typical mumbo jumbo? If you're looking to see, are we getting a strong reversal, you look for volume. I don't see diddly squat. Let's see in the 5-minute. I don't see anything. That 5-minute looks terrible. Came up to test the 20-day. That is now a death cross. And the 100 crossed the 200, and we came back to the 20. So if I didn't know any better, I don't know. We'll see how this plays out, but it don't look good right now. Closed-mindedness, yes, that's only how, that's true. Somebody says an event is coming. I don't disagree with that. Granddad, thanks for saying it makes sense. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you being in Tom's Army for over 4 years with the XRP Phoenix badge. Mr. Tom, they wanted to grab retail bags. They were playing mind games. That's what it feels like. Good morning, Tom. Sunny days on the way in more ways than one, but yes. But hasn't it been quite a weird back and forth here? It's almost like they're trying way too hard to get people to be interested. Isn't it crazy, though? Remember when we were talking at 20 cents about H bar? And it's a good deal, right? Everybody said, because it came down from 30 or whatever. They pushed it up right there. I mean, was it really? Now we're down 60% from just that goodbye at 20, right? That's why it's so important to understand what's the dip and what's just the restructuring after a big breakout. Cannabis Podcast, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. But, I mean, we've gone over a lot of stuff this morning. There's going to be a lot to take in, for sure. And when we start looking at all this, I mean, total crypto, come right down to this structure now. This is literally the make it or break it zone we're in right now. 2.52 trillion. I laid it out there for everybody a couple days ago why that was so important. Before this ended up coming through, and now it's actually playing at that line. If that breaks, I mean, you're talking about there's no real support left until you come all the way really down here to 2.16 and better yet, 1.9. That's basically your line right here that I put. Just, hey, if you break down, you better make sure you hold this. Otherwise, we could be in a bigger trouble than we thought. So, we'll see. But I don't see anything about this that makes me go, oh, I feel great about what's coming up. When you have a chance, would you talk about current market sentiment? It seems to me that some people started to be uncomfortable, but no really bearish. And Juan, thanks for the question of being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. And then I'll answer that. I just want to say hi to 2 more people that came in, or that I forgot to say hi to. CJ2 Pilot, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 2 years with the XP589 Moonmates. And notice the guy at the corner store and family members are not telling you about crypto. Absolutely. Well, some are, but not in that way anymore. Not in that way for sure. Plant and Jolly, or Josh Jolly, welcome, and I appreciate you guys. Thanks for the 3+ months to both of you. And Josh said, Ripple is a bank. Love the positivity on Facebook. I appreciate it. Nah, not everybody takes my Facebook as positivity. I'm sharing some of the facts that happen, especially with the institutional adoption, and you can see a lot. You can see a lot. I'll look at the Fear and Greed Index, but getting back to Ron's question, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year, my friend. It's a great point. So, yes. Go. Stop. Why you... I hate when she scratches the furniture, and if you guys have cats, you gotta tell them to stop, otherwise they'll just keep doing it until they scratch through your furniture. But with the mindset, people are starting to turn their back on crypto. Not just turn their back, but they're feeling like we're being used like a beating post. MQ, welcome in as well. I can't believe I forgot to say hi to you, my friend. And thanks for being a very trusted mod in here and in the Telegram, and giving out so much information. But yeah, so the mindset's changing. I actually touched on that a few times in a Facebook post and in our little talking session yesterday. But the mindset's starting to be, okay, well, every time I buy, it goes down. Or every time the government says to do something, it does the opposite with crypto. Or how come are all these companies buying yet the price is going down? Or how come do we have all these ETFs and they told us all this was going to make it go up? How come we have the regulations and nothing's happening except down? So now some people are starting to question the very narrative of what's going on, but they're still buying. They're questioning it, but they're still buying it and looking at it as a dip opportunity. So they're questioning it, but they still haven't convinced themselves that there's anything deeper than what they're thinking about. So they're still willing to buy. And right now, it could just as easily, they could inject a bunch of volume here and make this market surge up if they wanted to, as drop it down. They've cleared out so much liquidity that they could literally fire this up to $1.95 in a heartbeat. Joseph, thanks for a gifted sub for your first, in Tom's Arm for over 1 year at the I Told You So badge. And it goes to Jorge. Oh boy, what a perfect person to get that. Very trusted mod in this community. Now in Tom's Army for well over 1 year again with that gifted sub. I love seeing that. I love seeing that. But yeah, I mean that's the truth. Let's see. Juan. I think that's true. They're not real bearish yet. They're losing the hope. They're losing that feeling that, you know, it's in our best interest now, or that we're being told the truth. And now they're starting to be like, starting to almost have like a diverted feeling about it. They're holding it or keep buying it, but now they don't love it. Now they're almost buying it out of spite because they don't want to miss out because of what they've been falsely told. That's the scariest place to be. But I'm going to leave it at that. I got some stuff to do. Like I said, my son's home from school. I want to make sure everything's good. And we'll touch base on this more later. If you're in the class, I really look forward to seeing you here in a couple of hours. And other than that, have a blessed day, everybody. But I do have to go and take care of a few things.